History is full of stories of strong armies, generals, and military organizations. From the general Alexander the Great, who conquered most of the known world and brought the Persian Empire to fall, to the warlord Genghis Khan, who killed more than 20 million men. From Prussia to Japan. In this video, we list 10 of the strongest armies in all of human history, from the Eastern Roman Empire and Crusader armies to the Prussian and French armies. This will be the first part of this video. This is my first part of the series I intend to make about similar themes in history in a top 10 format. On place 10 we have the Japanese army from 1894 to 1943. They won against Qing China in the Sino-Japanese War, the first of these wars. 1894 to 1895 they beat them. They were called the Prussians of Asia from the European powers. They won versus one of the major powers of Europe, namely the Russian Empire, from 1904 to 1905. They beat the British Empire at Singapore and Hong Kong, conquered vast parts of China in the Second Sino-Japanese War from the 7th July 1937 till September 2nd, 1945. The war was gruesome and brutal, horrible atrocities by the Japanese, like the rape of Nanking and the complete disregard of the Geneva Convention. As the wandering was seen by the Japanese as a sign of cowardice, they were one of the most brutal forces in all of human history. Ultimately, they lost in China and got atomic bombed by the US in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Now we come to the number 9, the Redcoats. They had a deep sense of pride in the regiment and a strong sense of identity and comradeship. They lost to the US 1783 in the US Independence War against the USA, France, Spain and Netherlands. They conquered large parts of India, who had a far greater population at that time. They beat Napoleon's Grande Armée at Waterloo. They were very small, they were very reliant on their navy and good commanders. They had a bad doctrine, as attacking a strongly fortified position at Bunker Hill 1775 and New Orleans 1815 head-on showed that their tactic was not suitable for that kind of time with firearms and cannons. So the doctrine was still used in the First World War, and it showed that high casualties would follow for attacks head-on. They were not worth it. At number 8 we have the Crusader armies. The crusading soldiers were armored far heavier than their Saracen Turk counterpart. The only effective defensive method against the Saracens and their hit-and-run tactics was to form a shield wall and hope that the armor-won war was thick enough. Crossbowmen and archers could then fire their own missiles from the safety of their shield wall. To counter the heat, many knights wore storecoats underneath their armor to insulate against the metal, which under the heat of the sun would have burned their skin. Later the Turks and Saracens employed also some heavier treats. But since most soldiers came from the local population, these would not have naturally worn much armor. As such, the Crusaders were often of a heavier type than their enemies, and few of their enemies could withstand a heavy cavalry charge, unless the cavalry was seriously outnumbered from the Crusaders. At number 7 we have the Mongol army from 1206 to 1279. The second largest empire and the largest land empire of all time. They conquered a quarter of the world's population, absolutely annihilating armies from advanced empires like the Byzantines, the Holy Roman Empire and China. They conquered the whole of China. They killed the armies who outnumbered them 10 to 1. They used first the tactic March Divided, Fight United, a tactic who the Prussians perfected 1866 and 1871 versus the Austrians and the French. They conquered Russia in the middle of winter and were the only empire and army who conquered Russia. They are number 7 because they were not lasting fighting force. They were only effective for 73 years and they only conquered an empire and then they were driven out in a matter of 100 years with civil wars and other things. The Mongols just hadn't the population to control that vast empire. At number 6 we have the Grande Armée from 1805 to 1815. They had one of the greatest military leaders of the time as their commander. Promotion to the very highest ranks were open to all members of society, and most soldiers and officers were promoted by experience and skill rather than connections and family name. They standardized the army corps as a subdivision of the army. They did not dress their ranks for a march. This gave them a speed advantage of approximately 12%, while most continental armies marched at 90 to 100 paces per minute. The French marched at 112 paces per minute. Since all armies were tied to infantry movement speed, this gave them a considerable advantage. Especially under Napoleon, a man who taught quickly, did not have to consult with allies, and had a great officer corps. The average French soldier also brought a nationalism, more than most European soldiers of the time. They also believed in Napoleon's ability. And this was the first part of this episode. I hope you liked it, and if you want to see more, just smash that like button, comment in the video down below, and just say what you want next, and we catch you there. Thanks.